ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
A humble pranam at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba.
साई राम। स्वामी के चरणों में मेरा कोटि कोटि प्रणाम और आप सबको प्यार भरा साई राम।
Our beloved Swami has given us 9-point code of conduct, which if regularly practiced, followed, will definitely ensure a wonderful transformation in us.
So these 9-point code of conduct are daily meditation and prayer, participating in family bhajans at least once in a week, participating in samiti bhajans at least once in a month, and then participating in seva activities of the samiti, participating in Sai spiritual education activities like Bal Vikas, and then some mundane activities like abstaining from speaking ill of others, especially in their absence, and also speaking lovingly and softly always. Last but not the least, the practice of sealing on desires, wherein we save our money, time, energy and food. The money thus saved is then utilized in the service of mankind.
We, the Bal Vikas alumni of Thane 2, today we have been allotted for the topics of Nagar Sankirtan and Bhajans.
और इस विषय को आपके सामने एक स्किट द्वारा प्रस्तुत कर रहे हैं। आइए हम सब मिलकर ये स्किट देखते हैं।
श्री साई राम। मैं इस कहानी की सूत्रधार। ये कहानी है 4 दोस्तों की। ये है मधु, अनु, गार्गी और नेहा। ये लड़कियां स्कूल में साथ में पढ़ते थे और कॉलेज में भी साथ में पढ़ रहे हैं। ये चारों जन बहुत दिनों के बाद एक साथ मिल रहे हैं मधु के घर। आओ चले, ये लड़कियां क्या गपशप लड़ा रही है, ये लड़कियां क्या खिलखिला के क्या बात कर रही है। चलिए कहानी के तरफ।
हाय वेलकम वेलकम। कैसी है? हाय अनु। हेलो कार्बी। आओ बैठो बैठो। हाँ और कैसा चल रहा है सब?
नमस्ते, तू बता कैसी है?
मैं तो बढ़िया। तुम लोग बताओ, तुम लोग के लाइफ में क्या चल रहा है?
क्या बताए यार, स्ट्रेस छोड़ने का कुछ बचा ही नहीं है। पढ़ाई का स्ट्रेस, घर का स्ट्रेस।
नहीं, तुम लोगों का कैसा चल रहा है?
बहुत
स्ट्रेस तो है पर कंट्रोल में है, नॉर्मल चल रहा है सब। सही है। और सब बढ़िया।
काफी टाइम बाद में तुम सुबह से अलग दिखने लगे हो। इतने टाइम बाद में।
हाँ
हेलो हाय। ओह इज इट? क्या सच्ची? क्यों रे? ओह बाद में फोन करूँ क्या? हाँ हाँ ओके चल बाय बाय। रीना है ना वो? हाँ वो फेल हो गई टेस्ट में।
वो रीना जो टॉपर है।
हाँ वो टॉपर फेल हो गई।
ओह गॉड वाओ कितनी सैड एटीट्यूड दिखाती थी वो।
यार तुम सही बोल रहे हो, कितनी सैड होगी ना वो।
लेकिन वो उतना तो एटीट्यूड जो दिखाती थी।
हाँ तो
अरे नहीं हमेशा किसी को जज नहीं करना
कभी
चाहिए।
किसी के बारे में बुरा नहीं बोलती।
हम जज भी नहीं कर रहे, हमारे ग्रुप में नहीं
तो बोल सकते हैं।
नहीं उल्टा हमें उसको सपोर्ट करना चाहिए।
जो सही है वो सही है।
एग्जैक्ट।
उसे कितना बुरा लगा।
हाँ ना
जब वो हमका एटीट्यूड दिखाती थी ना हमको भी बहुत बुरा लगता था।
नहीं फिर भी हमें ऐसा किसी के बारे में बुरा नहीं सोचना चाहिए।
तुम लोग तो मतलब पहले ही ऐसे बोलते थे, अभी भी ऐसे ही।
अभी भी ऐसे ही बोलते थे। अब छोड़ो जाए दो। तुम लोग बताओ यार तुम लोग का क्या चालू है और खाना कुछ देख पार्टी
रुको मेरा
अरे है नेहा में रख लेके
देखा आप लोगों ने ये लड़कियां कितनी हंस के प्यार से बात कर रही है एक दूसरों के साथ। चलो अब हम अनु के घर जाके देखते हैं वहाँ क्या हो रहा है।
अब क्या हुआ?
मैं क्या बोलूँ यार, इतना स्ट्रेस है। मैं अभी मेरे दोस्त के पास गई थी। मेरी जो स्कूल की टॉपर है रीना करके, उसको टेस्ट में कम मार्क्स मिले। अभी मुझे इतना डर लग रहा है कि अभी मुझे एंट्रेंस देना है, मुझे डॉक्टर बनना है। कैसे बनूँ मैं?
पर तू क्यों इतना स्ट्रेस लेती है?
डर है तो है, अभी मैं क्या करूँ?
देख तू रोज रोज घर पे आती है, खुद स्ट्रेस लेती है, हमको भी स्ट्रेस देती है, पूरा घर तेरे से नेगेटिव हो जाता है। तू इतना स्ट्रेस मत लिया कर। सीरियस तेरा कुछ नहीं होगा बहन, मैं बता रहा हूँ।
ओह माय गॉड इतना टेंशन की वजह से मुझे खुद को पसीना आ गया ये घर का टेंशन की वजह से। चलो अब गार्गी के घर जाके देखते हैं वहाँ क्या होता होगा।
तू टाइम देखा कितना बज रहे हैं? 7 बजे आना था, 9 बज रहे हैं।
रोज की एक ही क्रिकेट है, या तो पापा या मम्मी। आपको मैंने बताया था मैं अपने दोस्त के घर जा रही हूँ, होगा लेट।
पता है तुम्हें अगले हफ्ते तुम्हारे एग्जाम्स आ रहे हैं।
हाँ,
और तुम्हें पढ़ ही नहीं।
हाँ मैं पढ़ ही रही थी, मैं पूरा टाइम पढ़ ही रही थी। या तो पापा या मम्मी कोई ना कोई बोलते रहता है, मैं हमेशा पढ़ती ही रहती हूँ।
और टाइम देखा 9 बज रहे हैं, कितना
तो मैं पूरे कोरोना के बाद पहली बार निकली, हो सकता है थोड़ा लेट हो गई हूँ, लेकिन आप
पर तुम्हें पता है एग्जाम्स आ रहे हैं, प्रिपरेशन करना। तुम होगी तुम्हारे दोस्तों के साथ घूम
मैं
रही हो।
पूरा टाइम पढ़ रही थी, मैं आज भी पढ़ रही थी। जैसे कि मैं बाहर जाऊँ, वैसे मैं पूरा पढ़ के गई थी बाहर, और हम वहाँ टाइम पास नहीं कर रहे थे, हम पढ़ाई की बात कर रहे थे।
किसे पता तुम वहाँ टाइम पास नहीं कर रहे थे, एग्जाम्स में देखते थे।
हाँ देखते हैं ना, देखते हैं। मैं पढ़ती रहती हूँ हमेशा, आप लोग हमेशा मेरे पीछे पढ़ती रहते हो, मैं हमेशा पढ़ती हूँ।
तुम्हारा रिजल्ट एग्जाम के टाइम दिखेगा।
हाँ दिखेगा। उफ, गर्मा गर्मी इतना झगड़ा है घर पे। ओह माय गॉड, आई कांट बेयर इट। अब ये लड़कियां चारों जन नेहा के घर मिलने वाली हैं, वहाँ क्या होने वाला है भगवान ही जाने।
वनमाला वृंदावन बाला,
वनमाला
वृंदावन बाला, वनमाला वृंदावन बाला, वनमाला वृंदावन बाला, मुरली लोला नंदलाला, मुरली लोला नंदलाला, जय मुरली लोला नंदलाला, जय मुरली लोला नंदलाला।
क्यों मुरझाए हुए हो?
क्या बताऊँ यार, पढ़ाई का स्ट्रेस, आगे एंट्रेंस एग्जाम है उसका स्ट्रेस। आई डोंट नो मैं कैसे कर पाऊंगी ये सब। तुम लोग की लाइफ में स्ट्रेस नहीं होता क्या? कैसे मैनेज कर लेते हो तुम लोग ये?
हमारी लाइफ में भी स्ट्रेस है,
पर हम लोग मैनेज कर लेते हैं थोड़ा बहुत स्ट्रेस ऐसा। पर तेरे को क्या हुआ? तू क्यों मुरझाई हुई है?
मत पूछ यार, मम्मी ने ना पूरा घर का माहौल बिगाड़ के रखा है। कहाँ जा रही हो, पढ़ती नहीं हो, क्यों कर रही हो, इतना चिड़चिड़ होने लगी है ना। पीस ऑफ माइंड है ही नहीं, शांति ही नहीं है जीवन में, ऐसा लगता है। तुम लोग के घर में क्या झगड़े नहीं होते क्या?
अरे झगड़े किसके घर पे नहीं होते गार्गी, पर कैसा है ना, हमारे घर पे बहुत अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, इसके लिए सब लोग सुलझा लेते कोई भी प्रॉब्लम आ गया तो। ऐसा
हम लोग मैनेज कर लेते हैं।
ऐसे कैसे, मतलब ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग कैसे डेवलप करते हो तुम लोग?
सच्ची बताओ तो हम लोग ना बचपन से बाल विकास के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, तो सत्य साई बाबा के जो भी एक्टिविटीज़ है ना, हम उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं। तो हमारे में वो क्वालिटीज़ इनकलकेट हो चुका है ऑलरेडी कि कोई भी सिचुएशन आए, कोई भी प्रॉब्लम आए, उसको कामली सॉल्व करने का, पीस ऑफ माइंड रखने का। तो फिर इसके लिए कोई भी कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम हुआ तो फिर हम लोग उसको सॉल्व कर लेते हैं।
ये समिति की एक्टिविटीज मतलब इन और होती क्या है एग्जैक्टली, क्या करते हो तुम लोग?
अरे बहुत कुछ होता है, जैसे कि मेडिटेशन होता है, भजन होता है, नगर संकीर्तन होता है, और नेहा का तो फेवरेट है भजन।
भजन तो हमने देख लिया,
हाँ।
बट ये नगर संकीर्तन क्या है?
नगर संकीर्तन यानी सुबह उठने के बाद यू हैव टू डू ओमकार, यू हैव टू डू भजन, यू हैव टू डू सुप्रभातम। ये सब करने के लिए सुबह उठने के बाद ये सब जब करते हो आपको पॉजिटिव वाइब्रेशंस मिलते हैं, आपके अंदर पॉजिटिविटी आती है। ये सब कुछ करने के बाद सब कुछ इतना अच्छा डिवाइन पावर होती है अपने अंदर, बहुत कुछ अच्छा लगता है।
और ये सब करके हम लोग भजन गाते 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 पूरे रोड पे चलते हैं, तो सारा हमारा बॉडी तो पॉजिटिव हो ही जाता है, साथ ही साथ एनवायरमेंट भी पॉजिटिव हो जाता है। तो मन की शांति भी मिल गई और तन की शक्ति भी मिल गई, एक्सरसाइज जो हो जाता है हमारा।
लेकिन मैं तो जिम जाती हूँ ना यार, तो मेरे को फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज और क्यों चाहिए?
फिटनेस तो ठीक है, पर मेंटल पीस है क्या?
तुम लोग का ये हम मतलब हमें अगर ज्वाइन करना है तो हम कैसे ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं?
अरे करेक्ट टाइम पे आए हो तुम लोग एक्चुअली। कल नगर संकीर्तन है, तो तुम लोग क्यों ना अपना पेरेंट्स को या पूरे फैमिली को लेके साथ में आ जाओ, तुम लोग को भी एक बार समझ जाएगा कि कैसे होता है, तुम लोग की बॉडी में भी पॉजिटिव वाइब्रेशंस आएंगे।
परफेक्ट, कर लेते हैं फिर।
या
जरूर कर लेते।
तुम लोग दोनों अपने पेरेंट्स को और पूरे फैमिली को लेकर जरूर आना।
हाँ पक्का आ जाएंगे।
अरे वाह, देखा आप लोगों ने, अनु और गार्गी दोनों जन नगर संकीर्तन में जाने वाले हैं। आइए चलिए हम भी नगर संकीर्तन अटेंड करते हैं उनके साथ। चलिए।
गोविंद विठ्ठला गोपाल विठ्ठला, गोविंद विठ्ठला।
बहुत अच्छा लगा, इतना मन को शांति मिला ना, क्या बताए। इट वॉज सुपर।
तो मैं गुम हो गई थी, इतना मेलोडियस, इतनी अच्छी एनवायरनमेंट। अभी आने वाले हर भजन और नगर संकीर्तन में हमको इन्वॉल्व होना है एंड एक्चुअली हमारी फैमिलीज को भी बहुत अच्छा लगा, तो ये फैमिली एक्टिविटी काफ़ी अच्छी है।
एंड भजन कितने छोटे सरल और इजी थे, क्या पता था इतने इजी भजन हम सीख पाएंगे कि नहीं।
सही बात है, मैंने कहा था तुम लोग को मन की शांति और तन की शक्ति दोनों मिल जाएगी।
हाँ राइट, एक्सरसाइज भी हो गई हमारी।
फिर क्या,
और कहाँ से सीख सकते हैं भजन सब?
इनफैक्ट ये लोग ने ऐप लॉन्च किया है रेडियो साइन करके, तो तुम लोग उस पे से सीख सकते हो।
कैसे? तो चलो एक भजन,
एक हमको जाने से पहले सिखा दो।
यस नेहा।
जय गुरु का नाम, जय गुरु का नाम,
जय गुरु ओंकारा, जय जय सद्गुरु ओंकारा। ओम
ब्रह्मा विष्णु सदाशिवा,
ब्रह्मा विष्णु सदाशिवा,
हर 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 महादेवा,
ओम हर 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 महादेवा।
जय गुरु ओंकारा,
जय जय सद्गुरु ओंकारा। ओम।
తెల్లవారుజామున నగర సంకీర్తన ఎందుకోసమని పెట్టాము?
Why Nagar Sankirtan is prescribed?
ఏ పని లేకుండా పెట్టామా?
It's not for nothing.
కేవలం అర్లీ మార్నింగ్ లో లేచి నీ నిద్రను పాడు చేసుకోమని పెట్టామా?
Is it to spoil your good sleep?
కాదు
early
కాదు,
morning?
ఇది భౌతికంగా లౌకికంగా ఆధ్యాత్మికంగా కూడాను ఎంతో పవిత్రమైనటువంటిది.
It's highly sacred from the point of the world, from the point of the community
అర్ధరాత్రి
and
వేళ
society.
బ్రహ్మ ముహూర్త కాలము.
It was the time which is highly sacred, Brahma Muhurta.
చల్లని ప్రదేశము, చల్లని వాతావరణము.
You find the cool breeze, very cool.
ఆ
all
చల్లని
over.
వాతావరణంలో మనస్సు కూడాను రాత్రి అంతా నిద్రించి మంచి ప్రశాంతంగా ఉంటుంది మనస్సు.
Mind will be at peace, perfect peace.
లేచిన తక్షణమే
The moment you get up,
ఏదో పిచ్చి పిచ్చి పలుకులంతా వినకుండా,
instead of listening to useless things,
అశబ్దమైనటువంటి యొక్క అశ్రవణమైనటువంటి దీన్నంతా మనం శ్రవణం చేయకుండా,
by listening to that what you are not supposed to,
రామ కృష్ణ గోవింద అనేటువంటి నామస్మరణ వింటూ ఉంటే హృదయానికి ఎంత హాయిని చేకూరుస్తుంది.
if you listen to God's name, your heart will be in peace and
పాడేవానికి హాయి,
the singers will be happy,
వినేవానికి హాయి.
the listeners will be happy.
తెల్లవారు లేస్తాను ఏదో భగవత్ నామచింతన విన్నానంటుంటావు.
I could listen to God's name the moment I got up this morning.
కనుక తెల్లవారు లేచిన తక్షణమే భగవత్ నామస్మరణ చేయాలి.
The moment you get up, sing the
हरि भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं। भजन और नगर संकीर्तन हमारे लाइफ में क्यों इम्पोर्टेंट है, इस चीज का वर्णन हमारे भाई और बहनों ने इस ड्रामा के थ्रू बहुत ही खूब तरीके से बताया है।
बिल्कुल सही कहा ब्रदर, उन्होंने हमें बताया कि हम हमारे रोज के जिंदगी में हम भूल जाते हैं कि भजन और नगर संकीर्तन का इम्पोर्टेंस क्या है। इसमें कोई गलती नहीं है हमारी, लेकिन हम हमारे रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज में इतना खो जाते हैं, जैसे कि ऑफिस में हमारे कमिटमेंट्स पूरे करना, फैमिली के कमिटमेंट्स पूरे करना, कॉलेज में पढ़ाई करना, असाइनमेंट सबमिट करना, इन सब के दौड़ में हम कहीं ना कहीं हमारे अंदर के भगवान से कनेक्ट करना भूल जाते हैं।
सेम गोज विद मी, मेरा कॉलेज है, मेरा क्लास है, इवन इफ आई वांट टू अटेंड नहीं हो पाता। इसको लेकर बाबा ने कुछ बताया है कि वीक में अगर हम मंथ में अगर हम वीकली 4 टाइम्स अगर हम अटेंड नहीं कर पाए तो फिर इसके लिए हम क्या कर सकते हैं।
जी हाँ, बिल्कुल। स्वामी के टीचिंग्स का खूबसूरती ही यही है। स्वामी ने हमें कभी भी ऐसा नहीं बोला कि हमारे जो भौतिक जिंदगी के रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज हैं उसे छोड़ कर आकर अध्यात्म करो, यानी ऐसा नहीं बोला कि ऑफिस छोड़कर आके गुरुवार के भजन में आओ, या फिर कोई ज़रूरी काम हो आपका सुबह तो नगर संकीर्तन करो। स्वामी अपने 9 पॉइंट कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट, जिसमें स्वामी ने बोला है कि एक आइडियल डिवोटी को क्या क्या पॉइंट कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट अपने ज़िंदगी में लाना चाहिए, उसमें स्वामी कहते हैं कि वीक में तो 4 थर्सडेज होते हैं, आप भले 4 थर्सडेज ना आओ, लेकिन कम से कम 1 थर्सडे तो हम कोशिश करें कि आके अटेंड करें। उसी तरह नगर संकीर्तन भी तो महीने में 1 ही बार होता है, वो भी सुबह अर्ली मॉर्निंग। तो अर्ली मॉर्निंग तो शायद हर महीने कमिटमेंट्स नहीं होते हमारे, तो नगर संकीर्तन और एक गुरुवार का भजन अटेंड करने में कितना मेहनत लग जाता है ब्रदर।
आपने एकदम बराबर सही बोला। हम मंथली नगर संकीर्तन अटेंड कर सकते हैं, बट अभी हम बालिका स्टूडेंट्स, अभी हमारी पूरी फैमिली बाबा के साथ जुड़ी है, तो हम देख लेते हैं कि हम अटेंड हम कर लेते हैं। बट वो लोग जो बाबा से कनेक्टेड नहीं हैं, जो साई परिवार से कनेक्टेड नहीं है, वो अपनी ज़िंदगी में ऐसा क्या कर सकते हैं कि उनको गॉड से कनेक्ट होने का चांस मिले?
बहुत अच्छा प्रश्न पूछा है ब्रदर आपने। भगवान ने इसका भी उत्तर उनके डिस्कोर्स में दिया है। नगर संकीर्तन की खूबसूरती तो यही है। नगर संकीर्तन क्या होता है? प्रभात फेरी। प्रभात फेरी में हम क्या करते हैं ब्रदर? हम किसी एक धर्म स्थल यानी मंदिर से शुरुआत करते हैं भजन गाना, यानी कि हरि कीर्तन करना, भगवान का स्मरण करना, और पूरे परिसर जो ब्रह्म मुहूर्त कहा जाता है उसमें पूरा परिसर जो है पावन होता है, फ्रेश, फुल ऑफ ऑक्सीजन एंड पॉजिटिविटी। उसमें हम भगवान का नाम लेकर और पॉजिटिविटी भरते हैं, और ये पॉजिटिविटी सारा कहाँ जाता है? वो सारा चीज़ इस पूरे वातावरण से होकर कहाँ जाता है? आसमान में जाता है, और यही पॉजिटिविटी आसमान से बरसात की तरफ नीचे आता है, और हमारे जो क्रॉप्स हैं, जो हमारे फार्मर्स हार्वेस्ट करते हैं, उन पे गिर के क्रॉप्स के अंदर जाता है, और उसी क्रॉप से तो ब्रदर हमारा खाना आता है, उसी से हमारा अन्न आता है, और वही अन्न जो पूरी तरीके से पॉजिटिव होती है उसी को हम खाते हैं। और जब हम उस अन्न को खाते हैं, क्या सिर्फ साई भक्त अन्न खाते हैं? नहीं, सभी लोग खाते हैं, तो सभी लोग के अंदर वो पॉजिटिव ऊर्जा भर जाती है, और सभी लोग ईश्वर के कृपा से अपने जिंदगी में पॉजिटिविटी की ओर बढ़ते हैं। भगवान ने हमें ऐसे सेवा करने का मौका दिया है, तो क्या हमें ऐसे मौके को मिस करना चाहिए? नगर संकीर्तन जाना चाहिए कि नहीं जाना चाहिए?
मैंने बहुत, और मैं ये ट्राई भी करता हूँ कि जो मेरे फैमिलीज में हैं, जो मेरे फ्रेंड्स हैं, मैं उनको बताता हूँ कि स्पिरिचुअली भगवान से, बाबा से कनेक्ट होने के फायदे क्या क्या हैं। अब घर में झगड़े होते हैं, घर में मॉम से, डैड से झगड़े होते हैं, बट उनको जो सॉल्व होता है, जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग की जो पावर आती है, वो अगर आप एक बार आप भजन सुन लो, या फिर आप अपने डेली लाइफ में अगर आप बाबा का आप नाम भी ले लो, तो फिर मन की शांति मिल जाती है।
बिल्कुल सही कहा ब्रदर। मैं आपको कुछ चीज़ें बताना चाहता हूँ जो मेरी पर्सनल अनुभव है। हमेशा हम देखते हैं कि जब भी बालिका ख़त्म हो जाती है, हम थोड़े बड़े हो जाते हैं, कॉलेज और जॉब के रिगार्डिंग हम बिजी हो जाते हैं, तो अक्सर हम समिति से या फिर स्वामी की एक्टिविटी से थोड़ा दूर चले जाते हैं, ये सोच के कि हमें वक्त नहीं है, हमें बहुत स्ट्रेस है, हमें बहुत काम है। लेकिन जब जिंदगी अच्छा चल रहा होता है तब हमारे साथ बहुत कुछ होता है, हमारे दोस्त होते हैं, हमारा काम होता है, हमारे पास पैसा होता है, सब कुछ हाथ में होता है। लेकिन सबके ज़िंदगी में वो टाइम आता है जब कुछ ना कुछ लो हो जाता है, या हमारे हिसाब से कोई काम नहीं होता, तब हमें अचानक से स्वामी का याद आता है। हम रोज पूजा पाठ घर पे करते हैं, स्वामी को याद करते हैं, लेकिन जब हम कहीं कोई लो फेज से गुजर रहे होते हैं तब हम स्वामी को ज़्यादा ढूंढने लगते हैं, और हम उस सहारा पाने के लिए हम भजन में आते हैं, हम स्वामी की एक्टिविटीज़ में जुड़ना चाहते हैं, हम वो अंदर की पीस को पाना चाहते हैं, हम अंदर से स्वामी से कनेक्ट होना चाहते हैं। तो आपको नहीं लगता है कि हमें कभी भजन आना स्किप ही नहीं करना चाहिए, ताकि हम कभी स्वामी से डिस्कनेक्ट ही ना हो? ऐसा क्यों हम करें कि सिर्फ जब लो टाइम हो तब हम स्वामी को याद करें, और फिर बाकी टाइम हम ये बोल के टाल दें कि हाँ अगर टाइम नहीं है। अगर हम रेगुलरली आते रहे तो शायद भगवान हमें कभी लो फेस में गिरने ही नहीं देंगे, हम हमेशा हाई 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 चलते चले जाएंगे ब्रदर।
आपने एकदम सही कहा। वीकली थर्सडेज भजन होते हैं, ओनली फॉर 1 आवर। अभी हम अगर भगवान के लिए अपनी जिंदगी का 1 घंटा नहीं निकाल पाए तो फिर
वही तो हम हमारे दोस्त लोग के साथ जाने के लिए घंटों बिता देते हैं, बॉस को खुश करने के लिए घंटों बिता देते हैं, टीचर को खुश करने के लिए घंटों बिता देते हैं। लेकिन स्वामी जिनने हम सबको बनाया है, इस पूरे विश्व को बनाया है, क्या हम उन्हें खुश करने के लिए महीने में सिर्फ 1 घंटा नहीं निकाल सकते, ये चीज़ हमें ज़रूर सोचना चाहिए। मैं भी सोचूंगा ब्रदर, और आप भी सोचिएगा ज़रूर, और आप भी सोचिएगा। तो मिलते हैं हम अगले गुरुवार भजन में। साई राम।
Om Shri Sai Ram. Pranams at the lotus feet of beloved Swami, who is always residing in our hearts, and our loving Sai Ram to all of you. As lovingly, Bhagwan says, not information but transformation, not instruction but construction should be the aim. So, with the Balvika ceremony, welcome you all on the behalf of Ulasanga Samiti to understand this transformation and divine construction through a regular study of sign literature as a part of 9 Code of Conduct. We welcome all the senior devotees of MMR state. Come on, let us invite Swami and try to understand the message he is conveying.
पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि मरणं पुनरपि पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनं इह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे संसारे बहुदुस्तारे इह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे कृपया
Baba says, only human beings have capability to read sign literature. With the help of sign literature, we can get liberated from the difficult cycle, birth and death. So choose the path of spiritual literature. Today, we are blessed and honored for giving us the divine opportunity to present before all of you. We are thankful for the same. Let us begin with the introducing Balvikas alumni and Sai youth who will be presenting as follows. First, introduction and a beautiful PowerPoint presentation which will make you understand what is sign literature can be presented by Riddhi Pahalwan. Second, group discussion in which we observe the pathways to understand what is sign literature and can be experienced by Darshni Lakhani, Kanika Thakur and Switi Sabandasan. Third, importance of regular science study is important as necessary for all of us as it leads to transformation, and it will be presented by as a role-playing newspaper reporter formed by Brother Akshay. Fourth, practice in daily life will be presented by Nikita. Fifth, group singing by the whole group. We hope our today's session on regular study of sign literature will encourage you to revisit, reflect and ruminate on Swami's precious words, for there lies the key to inspiration, transformation and realization that we are living in sign. Sign out.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Myself, Riddhi Pahalwani, offering our most loving pranams at the divine lotus feet of our ever-present Swami and invoking Bhagwan's presence on behalf of Balvikas alumni and youth of Ulasnagar district. Our loving Sairam to all my brothers and sisters listening to our program. This session is on regular study of Sai literature that is a part of 9 Code of Conduct, which is divine instructions given by our Bhagavan. Whether we call spiritual self-education or Sai literature or Swadhyaya, it all stands for offerings to Bhagavan. Swadhyaya. What is Swadhyaya? Swadhyaya is reflection on one's self. Swadhyaya is a Sanskrit term which means self-study and especially the recitation of the sacred texts like Tapovanam, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, Vahinis, etc. Let us see what Swami says about Swadhyaya. All Sai devotees are expected to study the life, messages, and teachings of Swami. However, the literature of all the great religions and saints should also be a part of our reading material. In short, Sai literature should be interpreted as literature that helps provide spirituality, awakening, and inspiration. The regular study refers not merely to individual study but also participation in study circles organized by the center. What is self? Analysis, which leads to honest evaluation. Swami says, not information, but transformation, not instruction, but construction should be the aim. Theoretical knowledge is a burden unless it is practiced when it can be lightened into wisdom and assimilated into daily life. Knowledge that does not give harmony and wholeness to the process of living is not worth acquiring. Every activity must be rendered valid and worthwhile, but its contribution to the discovery of truth, both of the self and of nature. The 3 stages of spirituality. What are the 3 stages of spirituality? These are Shravana, which means listening or absorbing. Second, Manana, which means reflecting or digesting. Third, Nididhyasana, which means putting into practice or acting on the message. These are the 3 stages in spirituality. It is not the quantity of knowledge we absorb, but the quality and the degree you reflect and integrate the message into your life. Now, what is reading about the sign literature? They are the three-step process towards sign transformation. This is the proper plan of study. So the first step is reading. The second step is reflection. What is reflection? Reflection is study with faith and devotion. Delve into the significance and the meaning of what you read and always have before you the goal of putting what you read into practice. Unless you do so, the study circle will remain a half circle forever. It cannot be a full circle. Now, what is regular application? Regular application, much reading confuses the mind. It fosters argumentation and intellectual pride, which I insist on is putting the things read into practice. At least one thing or two. Moreover, you must always remember that the book is just a pointer or a guide, a signpost. Reading is not completion of the journey. It is only a first step. Read for the sake of practicing, not for reading's sake. So the regular application is must in our life. Study is work. Inquiry into the value and applicability of what is studied is worship. The experience of the validity and value of practice. That is wisdom. Thank you. Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, we just heard such a lovely message on what sign literature means. Now, let us get a better insight into Swami's message. Let us begin by introducing ourselves. We have Miss Sweetie, who is a beginner on this path. We have Miss Darshana, who has already been studying sign literature.
And we have Miss Kanika, who has deeper sight into his message. I am very much in need of deep insight on this. As Swami says, my monkey mind keeps wandering and always finds reasons to delay this practice. Though I participate in seva activities and bhajans organized by Samiti, but I haven't reflected upon Swami's literature. Actually, I need some convincing answers to a few doubts. Sure, go ahead. That is why we are here for, right? So, my question is, why has Swami laid out regular study of sign literature as a practice?
So let's begin to understand this word by word. Swami has chosen the words regular study of sign literature, the first word being regular. For every prescribed mode of sadhana, Swami has laid out a particular time to be devoted to each one of them. And when the divine planner has ordained a time for this sadhana, that itself makes it very much accomplishable, right? The second word is study. It is very important to ponder upon that reading is different from studying. Study is reading combined with 100% involvement, concentration, and with an underlying purpose to be achieved. And I would also like to tell you the role that study of sign literature plays is that of what alphabets and numbers has played in laying a strong foundation for our worldly life. Likewise, sign literature plays a pivotal role in laying a strong foundation for our spiritual upliftment.
Sister, what if I prioritize my life in achieving worldly goal first and then come to Swami literature when I retire?
Sweetie, the question you have put up just sounds like, what if I first fulfill my American dream of holding a degree from a foreign university, get a job, earn a reputed, set up a reputed business, earn a few millions in my bank account, and then choose to learn alphabets and numbers after retirement? And Swami says secular education is for living, but spiritual education is for life.
True, well said. But how to begin with for initiating this sadhana? Which books should I read first? And what are the type of books that I should be reading? It's good to see that you are already so charged up. It is easier to begin with study of books containing short stories by Swami or experiences of devotees than studying the lives of holy saints Satyam Shivam Sundaram by Professor N. Kasturi. I feel so humbled thinking about that the Lord who has given the Bhagavad Gita, the Holy Bible, the Guru Granth Sahib Ji has given us Satya Sai Speaks, Vahinis. Can't wait to read. It's lovely to hear that the idea is already planted in your mind, but I would like to know that how do I evaluate myself and progress further?
So, before I answer your question, I would like us to remember that all are co pilgrims on this path towards Swami. Some of us may be highly literate, while some of us may have read higher number of books. But it is important to remember that comparisons of any sort should not form a setback into our spiritual progress whatsoever. Even if a person is not learned, we can very much listen to Swami's message and ponder upon his teachings. So, there is no comparison, neither is there any need to worry about what will happen if I have read this, which book is the best. Swami has given an answer to your question in a very simple way. Swami says that after reading his message or after listening to his messages, we should ponder upon his message. We should reflect upon his teachings and then put those teachings into daily life. Thus, we will be truly living up to Swami's expectations from us.
Thank you for making this so easy. Here, I would like to add that for each one of us, we have content available on the internet itself, like Sri Satyasai Books and Publications Trust page, where we can find a vast collection of books covering every possible topics of interest. There is also an entire web page of Sri Satyasai Media Center dedicated to spreading wonderful articles to read. Also, there is apps like Prashanti Connect, Radio Sai Global Harmony, which are available to download on both Android and iOS platforms. Isn't that amazing?
Absolutely. Perfect. So, let us conclude our discussion by remembering this. Sign literature books are a precious treasure. It is a gift to humanity given by a beloved Lord. These books are sources which enable us to find inspiration for us to begin working towards our inner transformation and thus awaken ourselves to our inherent divinity. So, let us all embark on this journey and as well begin to live Swami's message, thus inspiring others along the way and truly become his Divya Atma Swarupa Laras.
Jai Sai Ram.
Sairam, myself Akshay Devadiga, Balvikas Alumni. Today I am presenting roleplay on importance of regular study of Sai literature. So let's first discuss the current situation in which we are having a livelihood daily. So let's understand the tragedy the current world is going through. Why the world is so much under crisis, no control for anything. Countries are facing worst war situations. People in these countries are literally helpless. Another problem is many countries are still suffering from pandemics. Everywhere, inflation is so high that people are starving badly. People have to understand each other's need. All should remove the thinking of hatredness. In this, all I know, knowing the importance of regular study of Sai literature is worthwhile. It helps all human beings to understand, to live peacefully. So let's understand how it is important for us. So let's start with how ignorance gets removed. Just as thick fog is dispelled by the rays of the sun, ignorance melts away before the powerful rays of knowledge is acquired by the uninterrupted inquiry. One should constantly be engaged in the inquiry of the nature of the Brahman. So here we are saying that we should always do a regular inquiry of what we are saying. So we should be conscious of our act, how our thoughts, how our actions is creating a reaction on our thoughts and emotions in our daily life. Second is inner Atma shines nicely and illusion disappears. As you see in the slide that how the Atman shines, this is just a representation purpose to show you how the Atman shines nicely when we have the inner qualities refined and it is avoid of delusion. So here I would like to give an example of the gold. When gold is melted, it shines with a strange yellow glory. Where did that light emit from? From the gold or the fire? what happened was the removal of the dross by the fire. The effluence belonged to the gold itself. It is the very true nature. The fire is only the instrument of the removal of the dross. One has to conclude that the splendor come out through the fire, not by its own nature. So, as you see the example, the fire, but out of its own inner nature. Third, the route to overcome inner obstacles. When we practice literature daily, we have the inner capacity to overcome the obstacles naturally, like vikshepa, mithya, etc. Some types of obstacles in which Sai literature helps human being to realize the Atma. So it helps to eliminate egoism, desire, gain liberation. When sun rises, darkness as well as the trouble rises from it, disappears. Similarly, for those who have realized the Atma, there is no more bondage and no more sorrow that arises from the bondage. Delusion comes only to those who forget their bearings, ego, and the greatest factor in making the people forget their very basic truth. Helps. So Sai literature also helps in getting the understanding of Vedic literature. The sound is the very core of the Veda. Sound is associated with the harmony and the melody. So the Veda has to be heard and ecstasy derived from therefrom. It is not to be analyzed, commented upon, and judged. This is why the Veda is called the which is heard, Shruti. In Sanskrit we call it Shruti. Only through listening to the recital can the awareness of the Atma and the bliss it confers be earned. Bliss thus acquired manifests in words and deeds that confirm bliss on all around. The term Vedanta is generally used by many to indicate a school of philosophical thought, but Vedanta is only a special section of Vedic literature. All the Upanishadic texts from the part of Vedanta is a consummation of the Vedic thought. The Vedas themselves are invaluable guides towards the highest. Now let's go to another point, leads to unshaken faith in Atma. So when we follow the Sai literature in our daily life, we have great examples in our country, Bharat, of many great sages like Ramakrishna, Paramahansa, Jayadeva, Gauranga, Tukaram, Tulsidas, Ramdas, Kabirdas, Sharda Devi, Meera, Sakubai, Malamma. They have mastered the spiritual test. The reason obviously lies in the unshaken faith in the Atma, won through the purification of the mind. The spiritual knowledge alone conferred on them the purity and the clarity. So when we read the test of this sacred knowledge, we get the clarity of our life, we get the purpose, what is the purpose here in the earth, and we get the clear clarity how things work and how things will go, and how our inner karmic patterns get cleared off. So these holy people spoke what they had in their hearts, exactly as they felt or experienced it. Second thing is, it trains the mind to dwell ever on God. The mind is influenced by the reason for objective pleasure and the delusion of ignorance, with which it pursues, with an amazing quickness, the fleeting objects of the world, so again and again it has to be led on toward higher idols. Of course, this is difficult at first, but with persistent training, the mind can be tamed. Then it will be fixed in the perpetual enjoyment of the Om, the Pranava. To make to understand the world is the glory Lord's three-act play. When an author writes a play, the entire play will already be in the mind before setting pen and paper. Act after act, scene after scene, with no picture of the entire drama in the mind, the author will never entertain the idea of writing it all, right? But take the case of the audience. They grasp the story only after the drama is fully over. It unfolds itself scene by scene. Once they have understood the theme, they too can confidently describe to others the purpose of the play. Similarly, for the Lord, this drama of time is three acts: the past, present, and the future. It's as crystal as clear. Thus, with this, I like to conclude. Could make people understand that the importance of Sai literature. Let's move to the next topic, that is how to put Sai literature on daily practice. Sai Ram. हो गया अभी जो अपन स्टार्टिंग और
रिकॉर्डिंग इज
क्या हुआ रिकॉर्ड
साई राम, मैं निकिता कालीरा। आइए अब डिस्कस करते हैं हाउ टू प्रैक्टिस साइन लिटरेचर इन डेली लाइफ। मेरे ख्याल से इन तरीकों से साइन लिटरेचर को डेली लाइफ में अपनाया जा सकता है। स्टडी सर्कल के ज़रिए हम साई डिवोटीज हर तरह के साइन लिटरेचर का आनंद पा सकते हैं। हम में क्षमता बढ़ती है बातों को अपनाने की। स्टडी सर्कल में हम लोगों के डाउट्स डिस्कस करते हैं और उनको सॉल्व करने की कोशिश करते हैं। पारायण, साइंस लिटरेचर के पारायण से हमारे मन की कोई भी चिंता या किसी भी तरह के गलत विचारों का निवारण होता है। पारायण से हर समस्या हल होती है। पारायण से हर सवाल का जवाब मिलता है। ग्रुप डिस्कशन से हम साइंस लिटरेचर को आसानी से समझ पाते हैं। अकेले पढ़ने में उत्साह कम हो जाता है। ग्रुप में हर इंसान के बात की, विचारों की नई प्रतिमा बनती है। क्विज शो अमॉन्ग डिवोटीज। क्विज शो में बहुत लोग भाग लेते हैं, एक टीम बन के एक साथ हो जाते हैं। क्विज शो से हम डिवोटीज में विश्वास बढ़ता है और उन्नति होती है। स्टडी बिफोर स्लीप। हमने बहुत बार ऐसे साई डिवोटीज को देखा है जो रात्रि के समय स्वाध्याय करते हैं। इससे साई डिवोटी को मन की शांति मिलती है और पॉजिटिविटी आ जाती है। इससे उनको भगवान से मिलन का अनुभव होता है। हमने बहुत बार देखा है, सुना है कि भगवान किसी मकसद से अवतार लेते हैं। हर बार वो अपने डिवोटीज के सामने बड़ा उदाहरण रखते हैं। जैसे कि गुरु नानक देव जी ने गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब जी की रचना की, श्री कृष्णा जी ने भागवत गीता की रचना की, जिससे हमें रोजाना जिंदगी के हर समस्या के हल मिलते हैं। वैसे ही हमारे श्री सत्य साईं बाबा जी ने अपने मुख से बताई हुई हर वाहिनी उत्साहजनक है। ओम श्री साई राम।
सरस्वती नमोस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। नमो शारदा नमो शारदा नमो शारदा माता। नमो शारदा नमो शारदा नमो शारदा Satyai
Koti pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Swami and a very loving Sairam to all. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told Arjuna, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram miha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddhaha kalenatmani vindati. Yes, in this world, jnana or wisdom is the greatest purifier. There are two branches of the tree of total knowledge. One, which is secular material or Vaishvik jnana, and the second, which is spiritual or Atmik jnana. A person who is called as the Yoga Sansiddha, that is the one who has controlled his senses and perfected himself in yoga, will be able to realize the truth within himself and attain spiritual jnana. In Bhaja Govindam also, Shankaracharya says,
Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya anitya viveka vicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam purvavadhanam mahodavadhanam. Pranayam and pratyaharam are the two basic steps to be practiced for spiritual progress. This pertains to control and regulation of life activities in the body. Indeed, self-discipline is must for any spiritual sadhana. Not only our physical body, but also our mental body should be taken care of.
To help us in the journey of spiritual success, our beloved Swami gave the 9 code of conducts. Following these conducts, it will not only make us a disciplined person, but slowly and steadily take us towards our pursuit of inward journey and help to realize the divinity within us. One of the 9 conducts given by Swami is talk slowly and softly. Let us now see, is it really necessary to talk softly with the help of a small skit?
Million salutations at the lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagwan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. Speak softly, lovingly with everyone. The story here represents the effect of speaking in oblige and speaking obligingly. The characters played here are Savitri Amma, mother of 3 kids, her son Ramesh, daughter Rukmini, Rajesh. Rajesh's friend from college, Sai Priya, Sai Priya's father Janardhan, Sai Priya's mother Girija, Didi at a house, the helper Radha, Sai Priya's brother Raghu. Savitri Amma gets up early in the morning every day, cleans the whole house and decorates the house. Savitri Amma puts kolam, the Indian art form of making rangoli designs with rice powder, and it is considered to be auspicious. She puts kolam in the courtyard of her house.
उत्तिष्ठ गोविन्द उत्तिष्ठ गरुडध्वज उत्तिष्ठ कमलाकान्ता त्रैलोक्यं मङ्गलं कुरु उत्तिष्ठ गोविन्द उत्तिष्ठ गरुडध्वज.
As she puts kolam, she hears bhajan far away from her house approaching her. Anxiously, she gets up and she sees a group of people holding Swami's photo, singing bhajan, followed with manjiras, dholak, flute, and all in white attire. Savitri Amma felt really divine. She paid her respect by bowing down and offered namaskara. she hears puja from her house. She walks in and sees Rukmini and Ramesh offering puja. Savitri Amma joins the kids to offer aarti. They pay their salutations to Bhagwan. Then Ramesh and Rukmini comes in, touches Savitri Amma's feet lovingly. Savitri Amma hugs her kids and asks them to take seat for breakfast. She brings the food and serves it to her kids. Then she notices Rajesh having joined them. She inquires, "Where is Rajesh?" Ramesh and Rukmini says, "Amma, he did not get up. He's still fast asleep." Savitri Amma walks to kids' room again to call Rajesh. She lovingly wakes him up. However, he arrogantly gets up and yells. He says, "Let me sleep." Savitri Amma again asks him lovingly to get up. Rajesh refuses. He says, "I slept late at night and hence please leave the room." By Rajesh's behavior, Savitri Amma gets upset and goes to the dining room. Rajesh walks in and asks, "What is for breakfast?" She says, "Idli." As he gets to know the food is simple idli, he gets furious. He yells and gets up from the chair, asks her, "Don't you know to make good food? All my friends carry good various dishes to college and I have to eat the same tasteless idli." He pushes the tiffin aside and leaves the house without having food and without carrying his lunchbox to college. Savitri Amma sits sad, upset and disturbed. Rajesh reaches his college with his friends. Later, in the break time, all kids gather to have their lunch. However, Rajesh quietly walks out and sits alone in a bench as he did not have lunch. Far away, his friend Sai Priya notices him sitting alone without having food. She approaches Rajesh and asks him, "Will you like to join me for lunch at my home? I stay nearby to college." After thinking, Rajesh accepts her invitation and goes to her house. Rajesh and Sai Priya reaches her house. As he enters, he feels a divine fragrance in the whole house. Then a lady comes in, offers water to both Sai Priya and Rajesh. Sai Priya thank her, saying, "Thank you, Didi." Rajesh in anxiety asks Sai Priya, "Hey, why will you call her Didi? She's your servant, right? And as per my knowledge, you have only one brother named Raghu. Then who is she? Why will you call her Didi?" Sai Priya smiles. She says, "Didi helps my mom and she takes care of all of us at home very lovingly. So we call her Didi." Then she says, "Here, all of us respects elders and speak respectfully only. We don't differentiate anyone as per their duty." Then her mom, dad and brother Raghu comes in. They sees Rajesh, welcomes him home and says Sai Ram. They ask him to join for lunch and he sees all eat simple food along with the staff in the house. Before eating the food, they all pray together, offer their prayers to God to give the food and then eat. His guilt rises. He remembers the incident at home in the morning, his eyes filled with tears. After the lunch, when he was about to leave, Sai Priya's parents asks him to come to their home the next day for bhajan. He agrees, greets them and leaves the house. Rajesh reaches house. He says sorry to his mom, hugs her tight. Rajesh touches her feet and starts crying. He says, Amma, I was wrong. I am very sorry for the behavior today morning. I really feel ashamed for the way I shouted at you, the way I pushed the food kept on the table. Savitri Amma was shocked. She felt happy for the change she saw in her son. Also, she was sad that her son was crying. She made Rajesh sit, asked him for the reason. He explained her the incident occurred in Sai Priya's house. Then she says, My dear son, it's okay. I'm happy that you realized your mistake, accepted it, and is ready to rectify it. Rajesh then says, Amma, we are invited to their house tomorrow for bhajan. Rajesh and Savitri Amma reaches Sai Priya's house. All in their house greet Sai Ram and take their seats for the bhajan. Then, before leaving, Savitri Amma hugs Sai Priya and shows her gratitude to change her son into a good human being. However, Sai Priya says, Amma, I haven't changed him. I was just an instrument of Swami. Swami wanted to change him, and he is the one who decided to transform Rajesh. Savitri Amma feels blessed, and Rajesh and Savitri Amma leaves towards the house. Divine discourse of Swami. She says, speak softly and sweetly and cultivate a good mind. Only then will you earn the respect of others. You cannot always oblige, but you can always speak obligingly. Do not listen to evil talk, so you should always speak and listen to good words. If you happen to hear something evil, do not share it with others. What is the purpose in causing unrest to others by telling them something which has caused unrest to you? Let your tongue utter such words which will give joy to others. Bow down to the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan to offer Koti Koti Pranam. From today onwards, cultivate noble feeling, talk softly, sweetly, with smile always. Jai Sai Ram. Sai Ram.
Let us now understand why Swami gave us the code of conduct: speak softly and lovingly to everyone.
Elephant can trumpet, lion can roar, dogs can bark. Speech, vacha, is the most beautiful gift given by God to human beings. God gave us with a tongue to express our thoughts, ideas, feelings, sorrows, etc., which no other living being is blessed.
Even in the olden days, Rishi Muni used to talk less, speak softly, and many a times even mauna to enhance their personal sadhana. It is because of this only, whatever the Rishi said, be it a curse or a boon, would be the Brahma Vakya destined to happen.
Do you like the voice of a crow? No, not at all. We just drive them away. But the sweet voice of a cuckoo is so soothing, it really makes us happy and peaceful. We love to hear it again and again.
Sounds also have impact on plants. Several experiments were conducted on plants with different kinds of music, including classical, jazz, and rock. It was later observed that plants exposed to more soothing classical music grew towards the speaker, whereas plants exposed to discordant, loud rock music grew away from the speakers.
Swami says speech is the best ornament and armament. Practicing moderation in our speech will develop love, as most of the misunderstandings arise out of carelessly spoken words. It may also create a wrong conception about you. So, the diction, talk less and work more.
Speech promotes friendship as well as difference. It is not always possible to do good to others, but indeed, we can at least speak good, loving words to make the person happy. If you can't oblige, at least speak obligingly.
Like we just witnessed in our skit, the soft-spoken person has less enemies, while the hard-spoken person develops enemies. The tongue is the armor of the heart. Loud talks, long talks, talk of anger and hate not only creates disrespect for us, but also affects one's health. We are inviting diseases like BP, depression, heart attack and many others.
If your foot slips, you suffer fracture which can be repaired. But if your tongue slips, you fracture someone's faith or joy. The wound will fester forever. It helps to breed anger and hate in others. So, the tongue should be used very carefully. The more you talk softly, the more your mental power will grow. Let's see what Swami has to say.
సమ్యక్ వాక్.
Thereafter, samyak vak, good word.
వాక్ ఒక్కటిగానే ఉంటుండాలి.
We should speak only one.
ఇది ఉద్వేగంగా ఉండకూడదు.
It should not be agitated.
అసత్యంగా ఉండకూడదు.
It should not be lying.
అన్యాయంగా ఉండకూడదు.
Or injustice.
అక్రమంగా ఉండకూడదు.
Or improper.
హింసగా ఉండకూడదు.
It should not be violent.
అనుద్వేగకరం వాక్యం సత్యం ప్రీతి హితం చేత్ అన్నారు.
Whatever we speak should not be agitating. It should not be disturbing. It should be so pleasing, comforting and sweet.
మన వాక్కు హితంగాను ప్రీతిగాను ఉద్వేగం లేకుండాను ఉండాలి.
Whatever we say have got to be pleasing, so soft, delicate and sweet and acceptable and palatable.
You cannot always oblige, but you can speak always obligingly.
You cannot always oblige, but you can speak obligingly.
కనుకనే సమ్యక్ వాక్కు అన్నాడు.
Good word is prescribed.
పవిత్రమైన వాక్ కంటే మించినటువంటి దైవత్వం వేరొకటి లేదు.
The sacred talk is the divinity.
ఈ వాక్కే శబ్ద బ్రహ్మము.
This sound verily is divine.
Mind can make heaven out of hell or hell out of heaven. Enormous amount of information is going through the brain. You need to hit the brakes and come to hard stop to get your bearing. It will make you think before you speak. It will make you a better listener, and it will ultimately awaken your inner voice.
Let's now see how we can make it possible to speak slowly and lovingly. Always go for meditation and pranayama. Read a book. All great leaders are readers. Listen to soothing music. Keep in satsang, good company. Record and listen how you speak. It surely helps to realize our mistakes.
If you observe great personalities like Ratan Tata, Infosys founder Narayan Murthy, Sudha Murthy, or the cricketing legend Rahul Dravid, all of them are very soft spoken. It is the key for their success to handle manpower. In today's corporate world, if we have to get the work done willingly from the employees, the managers have to be very calm and soft spoken. You cannot order them or yell at them. To get respect, we have to give respect. Why only corporate? Well, even in our own home, we need to practice soft speech to maintain harmony and peace. We can preach to children only by leading with example. It will help to increase the concentration power of our children, which is very much required in this competitive world to help them achieve their desired goals.
Remember, even if you are happy but your tone is extremely high, you can scare people off. But if your voice is low, you can draw people even if the content of your speech is unpleasant. Softness, not loudness, is the key of being heard. Let's now listen to a melodious song.
हमको तुमसे प्यार कितना साई तुम ही जानते,
हमको तुमसे प्यार कितना साई तुम ही जानते,
दिलों की धड़कन तुम हो साई,
दिलों की धड़कन तुम हो साई,
तुम हमारे प्राण हो,
तुम हमारे
in the depth of silence that one can hear the voice of God. Swami says that when one maintains silence, he or she comes under the silence. Every spiritual master, in one way or the other, extorted on silence. Words have more weight and power when there are fewer of them. The more you talk softly, the more your mental power will grow. This will help us to discriminate better, and it develops harmony and peace of mind. It will also help us to make more friends than enemies. As Swami says, a language is as sweet as the tongue of the speaker. Sai Ram.
संपूर्ण चराचर जगत में ईश्वर का वास है। ईश्वर के एको अहम बहुश्याम प्रजाएय के संकल्प मात्र से संपूर्ण सृष्टि का निर्माण हुआ है। सभी जड़ और चेतन में वही व्याप्त है। अतः प्राणी मात्र में प्रभु दर्शन करके भक्त अलौकिक आनंद की प्राप्ति करता है। इस प्रकार संपूर्ण भाव से अर्पित भक्ति मानव के लिए मोक्ष का द्वार खोल देती है।
There is divinity in every creation of the Lord. Following the 9 codes of conduct given by our beloved Swami, let us make Swami's dream of your life is my message come true.
प्रेम ईश्वर है, ईश्वर प्रेम है। प्रेम ईश्वर है, ईश्वर प्रेम है। हर धड़कन में साई समा है, ईश्वर प्रेम है।
Do not speak ill of others, especially in their absence. What is talking ill of others? Simply talking negative or bad things about others, or backbiting, character assassination, trying to belittle or bring down the esteem of one in the eyes of other, this is the deadly cancer that can destroy many groups, even movements, and most certainly must be considered anathema to any spiritual body. Two main things which man enjoys a lot. First is listening to the song of his praise, and second, talking ill of others, especially of a person with whom he does not like. You can spend hours and hours to listen to your own glory, and as a result, have the feeling that the person who is talking good of you is the best person in the world. Here are three deadly enemies. First is the one who sings your glory in front of you. Second is the one who talks ill of you to others in your absence. And third is the one who talks ill of others to you in their absence. Why do you talk ill of others? Probably this is one thing which many of us enjoy a lot. Some have amazing stamina for this exercise, that is, to talk ill of others continuously for hours and hours. Instead, examine your own thoughts and ask yourself to clear your own doubts. Then the whole problem will vanish. The other person is a good person. Just as you can look at others' negativity, you can also see others' positive qualities. But from where do these negative thoughts arise? There are 6 main emotions from which these thoughts arise. First is kama, which means desire. Second is krodh, which is anger. Third is lobh, which means greed. Fourth is moha, which means attachment. Fifth is mada, which means pride. And the sixth and last one is ahankar, which means ego. Om Shri Sai Ram, do not talk ill of others. All of us want a good life. A good life results from what we do and not what we possess or what happens to us. For having a good life, we should do good, refrain from doing bad or evil to others by thought, word, or deed, and seek peace. One of the easiest way to fall or slip from grace of God is gossiping. We are very fond of gossiping. We speak exaggerated truth and false information about others for the sake of enjoyment of the scandals and false excitement. There is a certain satisfaction for most of us to put others down, to spread scandals about others and speak malicious stories. But we do not realize what kind of evil karma we incur when we do so. It is the same rule which never changes. We get what we give. We speak evil of others and we take on their negative karma on us. We carry our own burden of karma and also the karma of those about whom we gossip. The following story warns us of the consequences of speaking evil. Once, a sage sat in front of his home weaving a basket. He heard someone calling out Ram Ram and walking along the road, but he could not see him. He asked his sister, who was calling out the name of God. His sister replied that it was a miserable Brahmin who was living with his own daughter in an immoral manner. The sage said, "You are the 100th person to repeat this scandal." He looked out for the Brahmin who was passing by and called out to him. He said, "Go home in peace, your curse has been lifted." His sister understood that there was a story behind the words of her brother and questioned him. So the sage told her the story. The Brahmin who was passing by calling Ram Ram was living with his widowed daughter. They were both generous and kind-hearted. They would regularly invite sadhu and saints and offer food with love and respect. Their generosity was well known. Once a sadhu came to their home to visit them. The father and daughter served him well. The sadhu was very pleased with their seva or service and decided to bless them. He looked into them to see the future. He saw a very horrifying sight and knew he had to tell the truth to them and help them. He called the Brahmin and told him that after his death he would be tortured by a mountain of leeches in hell. On hearing this terrible prediction, the Brahmin was shaken and fell at his feet of the sadhu and sought a means of escape from this terrible suffering. The sadhu said, "Once when you were cooking food, a leech fell from the roof into the cooking pot and died. No one noticed this, and the same food was offered by you to a realized sage. There is a rule that whatever is given to a realized sage, comes back to us 1,000-fold. So there is a mountain of leeches in store for you. The sadhu gave an antidote to escape the terrible fate in store of the Brahmin. He asked him to conduct himself in such a manner with his widowed daughter that all thought ill of them and spoke badly of them. When 100 people had slandered them, all the bad karma would be distributed over them and the Brahmin would be freed from this terrible end. The Brahmin behaved accordingly in public and all mistook him and spoke evil of him and his daughter. The sage's sister was the 100th person who spoke evil of him, and by doing so, the curse earned unknowingly was lifted off him. When we indulge in unwanted gossip and blame game in fits of anger, we dig our own grave. We take out the bad karma of the other person provided he does not shout or scream back in return. When we look back at various events in our life, we find that we have totaled up a horrifying amount of karma just by bad mouthing other persons. We must learn to speak the truth, but speak sweet without anger, hatred, and malice. We must overcome the need to put down others. The Sitaram mantra helps us overcome this disease of tongue and mind to speak evil of others. Let us pray to the Guru and Sri Sitaram to help us overcome this terrible sickness and bring forth the light of love, truth, sweetness from within. Really, do we need to add more negative karma to our already heavy burden by speaking ill of others? Let's listen to one more story. A long time ago, there was a Gurukul hostel in which children used to live and study. Among these children, there were two kids who were brilliant in studies. They were favorite students of Guruji, the teacher. Both of them were very good friends too. Many years passed by, and now teacher decided to take the test of the children. All the children did well in the test, especially the two favorites of him. The teacher found both of them equally good and they got equal marks too. He was very happy, but he wanted to know that whether both students had put their knowledge into practice. One day, he called one of them and said to him, "Dear, you and your friend did equally well in the exam. I am glad that the two of you are such good students. Now I want to know that what do you think of your friend?" The boy said, "Guruji, I have learned all the subjects by heart, but he has learned them by rote. I think he has no brains, he is like an ox." "Oh, never mind, dear, experience will teach him everything," said the teacher. "You can go now." After meeting the first student, he called the second one and asked the same question to him. The boy said, "Guruji, I have gained my knowledge by understanding it, but my friend has achieved it by rote. He is just like a camel." The Guruji said, "Oh, never mind, experience will teach him everything," and asked him to leave. Next day, their teacher invited both the boys for lunch. The two boys became so happy because it was a big honor for them. The lunch was served, and what a shock! While there was normal meal which was served for the Guruji, but for the boys there was only leaves and grass. The teacher said, "You called each other an ox and a camel. So here is your food, grass for the ox and leaves for the camel. Please have it." Moral of the story: don't speak ill of others behind their back. Swami has said that be very careful of your speech. Animals have horns, insects have stings, bees have claws and fangs, but man's biggest weapon of offense is his tongue. The wound caused by it takes a very long time to heal. When we speak ill of others, we hurt the other person's feeling and create bad karma for ourselves. I would like to share one more story here. One day I saw a new student in school. She had just migrated to Singapore recently. My group of friends and I thought that she did not look friendly at all, and so we decided to ignore her. She was so lonely and looked pitiful at us. We noticed that she wanted to talk to us, but strangely we tried even harder to avoid her. We even began spreading stories about her that were not true. Others began to ignore her too. Even though we knew that our behavior was wrong, for some reason I did not make an effort to correct myself. A few days later, when I was taking the bus back home, the new student was also on the bus and she sat beside me. She politely began a conversation with me without realizing it that we were involved in a long conversation. I discovered that she was quite a nice person, and I should not have judged her by how she looked. I regretted adding to the conversation when my friend spoke ill of her, and I really felt sorry for her. From then on, she became a close friend of mine. When I told my other classmates that she was a nice person, they too became friends with her. From that incident, I learnt a few important lessons. Firstly, we must never speak ill of others, whether they are present or not. It will always lead to hurting the feelings of others. Secondly, if others are speaking ill of someone, do your best to give positive comments instead. Hopefully, that will change their perceptions. If that does not succeed, just keep silent. Swami will be happy. Thirdly, by speaking ill of others, we are in fact reducing the love in our own hearts. As we all know, Swami will only reside in our hearts that are full of love. So only speak positively and fill our hearts with love for Swami. You may be wondering what we do to follow this eighth code of conduct more effectively because it is so difficult to keep our tongues under control. Swami has made it very easy for us by giving us simple and effective guidelines such as Namasmaranam, constantly chanting the name of Lord, Gayatri Mantra, chanting the mantra as often as possible, light meditation, practice daily so that we send light to our tongues. Therefore, by following the guidelines Swami has given us that we must cleanse our speech, I would like to conclude my talk with one of Swami's quote. The tongue should be used for spelling the name of Lord and not for hissing like a serpent. Socrates triple filter test. This is also a very famous test which we must do before speaking anything. The first thing is that we should look that whatever we are going to speak, if it is true or not. The second test is that we should think that whatever we are speaking will be in a good way or not. And the third thing would be that whatever we will be speaking is useful or not. But if the answer of all these three questions is a yes, only then we must speak, or else we must just avoid the conversation. Tip for good interpersonal relationships. You cannot always oblige, but you can always speak obligingly. Always keep a watch. Watch your words, watch your actions, watch your thoughts, watch your character, and watch your heart. Therefore, it is said in the Upanishads, Sarva Jiva Namaskaram Keshavam Pratigachati. It means that to whomsoever we salute or pay obeisance, it is equivalent to saluting or paying our obeisance to Keshava, who is God. If you abuse or criticize anybody, that also reaches God. When one criticizes others and that itself reaches God, what would one's fate be if he or she were to directly criticize God? Thus, we must not hate anybody. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam, which means that we should not hate anyone. Let us all make a promise to Bhagwan today. We, as Balvikas alumni, will try not to speak ill of others, especially in their absence. Thank you.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Offering our most humble and loving pranams at the lotus feet of our dearest Bhagwan. Now, the Balvikas alumni of Navi Mumbai are going to present a series of dialogues in the form of a small video wherein the youth are going to ask questions that bothers most of us in our day-to-day lives, and our beloved Bhagwan answers all of them and lovingly puts all of our worries to ease. Sai Ram. Why should we avoid talking ill of others, and especially in their absence?
Never hurt or criticize anyone. Doing so is a sure sign of exhibiting the evil nature of your own self, which has been lying suppressed. When you find a single fault with one person, others are instantly ready to find 10 faults within you. The one who recognizes this truth will never commit the mistake of pointing faults of others. Those who indulge in projecting themselves as superior and degrade others are only showing the despicable side of their nature. Satya Sai Baba at the Divine Discourse delivered on 21st November 1998. Good speech is as essential as good vision. Avoid all kinds of gossip. Keep your speech confined to what is godly and sacred. Engage yourself in service to others. Pay no attention to other people's defects and faults. Listen to pure and sacred words. People misuse their ears listening to scandal and gossip. This evil tendency should be eliminated by listening to the glories of God. Such listening, which is Shravanam, has been accorded a primary place among the 9 paths of devotion. Satya Sai Speaks, Volume 31, Chapter 10, The Path of Nirvana. You cannot always oblige, but you can speak always obligingly. Bodily wounds can be cured by the use of medicines, but the wounds inflicted by the tongue can never be healed. That is why I repeatedly tell you to cultivate love and talk with love. Sri Satya Sai Speaks, Volume 33, Chapter 19, God incarnates to serve mankind.
Swami, how shall I practice not speaking ill of others?
In speech, the use of words is charged with tremendous power. Words do not cost anything, but they are priceless. So they have to be used with care. They must be employed not for gossip, which is barren, but pure and productive purposes only. The ancients recommended the vow of silence in order to purify speech of its evils. A mind turned inwards towards an inner vision of God and speech turned towards outer vision, both will promote spiritual growth and success. Vidya Vahini, Chapter 28. Silence is the only language of the realized. Practice moderation in speech. That will help you in many ways. It will develop love, for most misunderstandings and factions arise out of carelessly spoken words. Satya Sai Speaks, Volume 1, Chapter 10, Viveka and Vairagya.
Saira, Swami, as a student, how am I supposed to follow your command of don't speak ill of others, especially in their absence? It becomes very difficult for me alone to follow it while the rest are ignorant towards this.
ఈ వయసు చాలా పవిత్రమైనటువంటి వయసు.
This age is highly sacred.
ఇది చాలా దైవతత్వానికి కూడినటువంటి వయసు.
It's one of the divinity.
ఇది మంచి ఫల సంబంధమైనటువంటి వయసు.
It gives you
ఈ
good
మాధుర్యమైనటువంటి
fruits.
ఈ వయసునందు మనం ఈ వయసును చెడగొట్టుకోకూడదు.
We should not spoil this sacred
కాలమును
age.
ఏ విధంగా కూడా నువ్వు వ్యర్థం చేయకూడదు.
We should not waste time.
దుస్సంగాన్ని మనం ప్రవేశించకూడదు.
We should not be in bad company.
దుష్కార్యములో ప్రవేశించకూడదు.
Not have bad thoughts.
కనుకనే సత్సంగములో ప్రవేశించి సత్ప్రవర్తన చేత సదాలోచన చేత సచ్చింతన చేత దైవత్వాన్ని మనం అనుగ్రహించాలి, పాటుపడాలి.
Therefore we should spend time in good company, entertain good thoughts, good behavior, good emotions and good feelings.
మీ యొక్క బిహేవియర్ ని చూచి ఎంతో సంతసిస్తారు.
Even the adults also will feel very
ఎలాంటి
happy about
తల్లిదండ్రులైనప్పుడు
your
కుమారుడు యొక్క మంచి పేరును తెచ్చుకోవాలని ఆశిస్తుంటారు.
All parents want you to get a good name and fame.
మంచి క్లాసులో ఫస్ట్ రావాలి.
You should stand first in the
ఈనాడు
class.
చూస్తే ర్యాంక్స్ అంతా ఉంటుంటాయి.
Today there are ranks.
కానీ తన ప్రవర్తన చూస్తే బ్లాంక్స్ అంతా ఉంటాయి.
But his behavior is blank.
అది ర్యాంక్, ఇది బ్లాంక్.
Examination rank, life
పూర్తి
is blank.
విధంగా ఉంటుంటాది.
This is the trend now.
కాదు అన్నిటి యందు ర్యాంక్ నే రావాలి.
You should secure rank in every
ఇంకే
aspect.
విధమైనటువంటి క్రాక్ అక్కడ రాకూడదు.
There should not be any crack any
మనకి
time.
ఎప్పుడు వస్తుంది ఇదంతా అతి భాష చేతనే మనకి ఇవన్నీ దుర్గుణాలు ఆరంభమవుతున్నాయి.
By talking too much, we develop bad qualities.
ఎవరినైనా మనం ఫ్రెండ్ చూసినప్పుడు హలో హలో,
If you meet a friend, say hello.
హౌ ఆర్ యు,
hello.
హౌ ఆర్ యు,
How are you?
గుడ్ బై గుడ్ బై,
Goodbye,
అంతే.
goodbye. That's
ఇంకా
all.
అమితంగా మాట్లాడకూడదు.
You should not talk too much.
అమితంగా మాట్లాడుతూ పోతే ఏమేమి వస్తాయో ఇంకా మన నుంచి
By talking too much, you indulge in vain gossip.
అని అన్నెసెసరీ టాక్ అంతా అయిపోతుంది.
Unnecessary matters come.
తద్వారా మనమే బలహీనులైపోతాము.
Therefore, we become weak.
ఈ బలహీనత చేతనే మనం చేయవలసినటువంటి కార్యాల్లో మనము శక్తిని సాధించుకోలేకపోతున్నాం.
Because of weakness, we will not be able to achieve anything.
కనుకనే విద్యార్థులు
Students,
మితంగా మాట్లాడి
Talk less.
అమితంగా చదివి అమితమైన మార్క్స్ తెచ్చుకోవాలి.
they should talk less, they study more and get very high marks.
అంతేకాకుండా
Not
ఈ
only that.
మితంగా మాట్లాడటం చేత పరిశుద్ధమైనటువంటి భావాలు మనలో ప్రవేశిస్తుంటాయి.
By talking less, you will have pure thoughts.
పవిత్రమైనటువంటి కార్యాల్లో మనము ఈ దేహాన్ని ప్రవేశపెడుతుంటాము.
You will be able to act in a sacred
ఈ
way.
మాటల చేత అన్నెసెసరీ అనగా అవసరం లేనిటువంటి మాటలన్నీ వస్తుంటాయి.
The gossip sometimes comes on the way.
తద్వారా శ్రవణం చేస్తాము.
You listen to the
ఆ
vain
శ్రవణం
gossip
చేసినటువంటి క్రియరూపంలో ప్రవేశపెడతాము.
and then you translate into action.
కనుక ఎవ్వరి విషయంలో కూడా మనము దుర్భాషలో మనం మాట్లాడకూడదు.
Let's not be bothered about anybody.
అద్వేష్ట సర్వభూతానాం,
Let's not-
ఎవరిని మనం ద్వేషించకూడదు.
We should not hate anyone either.
కనుకనే అమిత భాషించు సూరత్వం అధికమయ్యే,
Therefore, this kind of valor of talking too much
కార్యశూరత
is more.
క్షీణించి కరిగిపోయే,
The action is less and less.
బ్రతుకులు ఆడంబరములాయే.
Life is full of pomp and show.
నేటి విద్యార్థి బ్రతుకు ఈనాటిదా ఈ పాటిదాయే.
This is the sort of modern
ఇలాంటి
life of the
చెడ్డ
student.
పేరును మనం తెచ్చుకోకూడదు.
We should not get a bad name.
విద్యార్థి అనగా విద్యాం అర్థయతి విద్య, ఇది మనం విద్యార్థులుగా ఉండాలి.
A student means the one who earns for studies.
పెద్దలను గౌరవించాలి,
Respect elders.
గురువులను గౌరవించాలి,
Respect your teachers.
తల్లిదండ్రులను ప్రేమించాలి.
You love your
ఇది
parents.
మనం నేర్చుకోవాల్సినటువంటి మాతృదేవో భవ, పితృదేవో భవ, ఆచార్య దేవో భవ.
Mother is God, teacher is God, father is God.
కనుకనే ఈ విధమైనటువంటి పవిత్రమైన భావాలు మనం హృదయంలో ప్రతిష్ఠింప చేసుకోవాలి.
You should install these sacred ideals in your
అప్పుడే
heart.
మన విద్య యొక్క ఘనత, విద్యా సంస్థ యొక్క పవిత్రత మనలో చక్కగా ప్రవేశిస్తుంది.
Then only the greatness of the institution, of the education system will be known. talk? What's the matter?
ఇంతే
What's the
కాకుండా
matter? Not only this,
పాపములన్నిటికంటే మించినది పరులను నిందించేదన్నమాట.
of all the sins, criticizing others is the worst of the sins.
ఆ పిల్లవాడి ఇట్లా, ఈ పిల్లవాడి ఇట్లా, వీడిట్లా అలాంటి విషయాలు ఏమాత్రం మాట్లాడదు.
We should never talk criticizing others. He is such, he is such.
ఎవరిలో చెడ్డలేదు.
Who is the one without defect?
బైబిల్లో కూడా ఒకటి చూశాను.
You must have seen in Bible also.
ఒక స్త్రీని బజార్లో నిలబెట్టి అటు ఇటు పోయేటువంటి వాడంతా రాళ్ళు విసురుతూ వచ్చాడు.
A woman, many people started pelting stones on a woman there in open street.
ఆమెను అందరికి హింసిస్తూ వచ్చారు.
All started hurting her by throwing stones.
జీసస్ ఆ మార్గంలో వచ్చాడు.
Jesus was passing by in the same route.
చూచాడు.
He watched this.
నిలబడి
He said, "Stop it.
ఎందుకు ఆమె రాళ్ళతో కొడుతుందా?
Why are you pelting stones like that?
ఆమె మహా పాపి.
She is a great sinner,
గృహస్థ ధర్మాన్ని విస్మరించి
forgetting the law of householder.
పాడు మార్గంలో ప్రవేశించి
She is in a wrong way.
క్యారెక్టర్ అంతా నాశనం చేసుకుంది.
She ruined her character.
దానికోసం మీరు రాళ్ళు విసురుతున్నారా?
So are you pelting, throwing stones for that reason?"
అవును అన్నారు.
They said, "Yes."
మీరు ఎవరిలోనైనా కూడాను ఈ క్యారెక్టర్ ఉన్నటువంటి వాడు ఉన్నారా?
Among you, is there anyone with such character?
ఆ ఉండినటువంటి వాడు మాత్రం ఆమె విసిరండి. ఆమె వల్ల నీకు కూడాను లోపల మాత్రం ఉంది, ఆమె బయట చేసింది.
You have got same similar character within. This she just exhibited externally.
కనుక ఆమె బయట పాపం చేసింది, నువ్వు లోపల పాపం చేస్తున్నావు. చూస్తున్నావు, తలుస్తున్నావు, వింటున్నావు అన్ని నువ్వు పాపాలు చేస్తున్నావు. ఈ పాపం చేసినటువంటి వాడు ఇంకోటి పాపి అని కొట్టడానికి అధికారం ఎక్కడ?
She did the mistake, committed the sin openly externally. While you see, you think, you speak, but then who is free from such a sin?
ఆ మాదిరి జీసస్ చెప్పడం వల్ల అందరూ కూడా వెళ్ళిపోయారు.
When Jesus said so, all left.
అట్టనే వాడు ఈ దోషి అంటే నీలో ఏ దోషాలు ఉన్నాయని నీకు తెలుసు.
Similarly, if you say he's a sinner, these are defects in him, tell me what mistake you do not have.
నిజముగా నీలో దోషమే లేకపోతే
If you have no defects,
నీకు దోషాలే కనిపించాయి.
then you don't find any mistakes, defects anywhere.
దాంట్లో అదే మనకు సరైన అర్థం.
That is the correct meaning.
దోషి కానటువంటి వాడు ఎవరిని దూషించాడు.
The one without any defects will never accuse.
దూషిస్తాడో వాడు మహాదోషి.
The one who criticizes is the one with a lot of defects.
మంచివాడికి రెండు గుణాలు ఉంటాయి.
There are two qualities for a good man.
వాడికి అన్ని మంచి కనపడతాయి.
He watches good everywhere
ఎందుకంటే మంచివాడు.
because he's good innately. Wins.
మనము ఏ విషయంలో కూర్చున్నా మంచిగా మనం యోచించాలి.
Therefore, in every matter, we should think of good.
కనుక ఇలాంటిది అదే సజ్జన సంసర్గం.
This is join the good company.
గుడ్ కంపెనీతో చేరాలి.
You should join the good company.
చేరి ఏం చేయాలి?
Then what should you do?
కురు పుణ్యం అహోరాత్రం. ఎప్పుడు నీవు మంచి పని చేస్తున్నా
all the time you should do good.
కురు పుణ్యం అహోరాత్రం. రాత్రింపగలు మంచి పనులు చేస్తున్నా.
Day and night do good actions.
ఎవరు చూడలేదులే, అందరు నిద్రపోతున్నారు అని చెడ్డ పనులు చేయొద్దు.
That no one is watching, all are sleeping, don't do wrong actions.
అది చాలా తప్పు.
That is a mistake.
ఎవరు చూడకపోయినా తాను చూస్తుంటాను.
Others may not watch, but he is watching.
కనుక భగవంతుడు అన్ని వాచ్ చేస్తున్నాడు.
God watches everything.
కనుక అతనికి దూరం పెట్టడానికి కానీ మరుగు చేయడానికి కానీ ఎవరికి మీరు కాదు.
You can either keep it in open or hide it.
స్మరం నిత్యం అనిత్యతాం. ఇది నాలుగోది. ఏమిటి? ఏది సత్యము, ఏది అసత్యము, ఏది నిత్యము, ఏది అనిత్యము, దీన్ని విచారం చేయాలి.
Then you should also discriminate what is ephemeral, what is permanent.
Discrimination selfish.
It's all selfish.
Hi, we the Bal Vikas Group 4 children of Mumbai Metro region will be presenting on the ninth Code of Conduct, practicing a ceiling on desires. Practicing ceiling on desires and eliminate tendency to waste time, money, food and energy. Utilize the savings derived from ceiling on desires for service to mankind. What is a desire? Desire is defined as a longing or craving as for something that brings satisfaction or enjoyment. We think desire will disappear once it is fulfilled. But is it true? Is there a boundary to desire? The answer is no. There is no limit to desires. They multiply like ants in an anthill. There is no sense of satisfaction, however much one may possess or enjoy. What is ceiling on desires? It is a tool to help reduce desires. We must begin by placing limits on the usage of four key resources. First, money. Second, food. Third, time. And fourth, energy.
Let us now discuss on the first of these, money. Due to urbanization, increasing peer pressure, and a ton of other reasons, it has become extremely easy to fall into the habit of spending money lavishly. A simple way to put a control on this is to ask oneself, do I really need what I think I need? Can this money be used somewhere else to make a difference in the life of someone in need? We are not talking about huge sums of money here. Ceiling of desires is not about the quantum of money spent or saved. It is more about the spirit of sacrifice and developing detachment.
Food. Throwing away food is like stealing from the table of the hungry and poor. Much time and energy goes in the preparation of food. Right from the harvesting till cooking, every step involves humongous efforts from many people. Water is essential to our health, our communities, our environment, etc. So now let's watch a video to create awareness on the usage of water.
एक दिन हमारे गांव में किसी ने नहाने का सावर रख दिया। हमारे आधे गांव ने पानी पी लिया और एक शहर वाले का नहाना अभी खत्म ना हुआ।
After the thought-provoking video, let us now move on to one of the most important resources, time. We have heard numerous times, time waste is life waste. Excessive sleeping, daydreaming, laziness are some of the ways where we tend to waste precious time. As teenagers, we must be very careful not to waste this priceless resource in order to ensure a bright future for ourselves. In other words, use your time, energy, money, and other resources effectively and in a limited way.
Energy. Excessive thoughts, fears, worries, hatred need to be destroyed. Control of speech is the best ornament and the best armament. A lot of our energy is wasted in unnecessarily speaking. So before we speak, let's ask ourselves, is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? Will it improve upon the silence?
I would now like to share a few thoughts on our today's topic, feeling on desires. Baba once said, less luggage makes travel a pleasure. In simple words, it means that our life is a long journey. If we have less luggage to carry, we make it much more pleasurable. So, feeling on desires is what you have to adopt today. You have to cut short on your desires day by day. Desires aren't bad until you know how to keep a control of it. We spend our whole lives in fulfilling our desires. But what we don't understand is that when we leave the world, nothing of it would accompany us. Even Alexander the Great, who conquered several parts of the world, could not take with him even a minute part of the wealth he had accumulated. The great Gautam Buddha revealed to his disciples the Four Noble Truths. He stated that life is full of sufferings and desire is the root cause of all sufferings. Too much of anything is bad. Therefore, there must be a ceiling on all that we do and desire.
To elaborate on the previous saying, here is a short story. Once there lived a king named Midas. He had a large kingdom. He had many beautiful palaces. But still, he was not happy. He wanted to have more gold, as he was greedy. One day, as he was praying, a holy man appeared. King Midas asked, "Grant me a boon, holy man. Whatever I touch should turn into gold." The holy man said, "So be it, son." The king became very happy. He touched his throne and it turned into gold. He touched the chairs, tables, the statues, all of them turned into gold. King Midas was happy beyond words. He thought he was the richest man in the world. Happily, he then ordered his dinner. As soon as he touched it, it turned into gold too. The king was astonished. He could not eat or drink anything. Then his daughter rushed in. As he put his arms around her, his daughter too changed into a statue of gold. King Midas was shocked and disappointed. In his quest for materialistic joy, he lost everything and everyone he loved. Did you know that Swami also showed us how to put a ceiling on desires through his own lifestyle? Here's an example. After every meal, Swami would always use drinking water to gargle his mouth and then swallow the water rather than spitting it. He showed us how, in a simple way, we can save the valuable water. Now, we shall hear from our own alumnus, Shruti Sharma, an ex-Bhagavika student of the Panvel Samiti, about her own experiences on the topic Ceiling on Desires.
Pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan Baba, and a humble namaskar to everyone who is listening to me. When my mother, who happens to be my Balvika's guru also, when she asked me to talk about an incident that happened to me on Ceiling of Desires, I was immediately reminded of an incident that happened the very day. So, to everyone who's in their mid-20s or above, I'm sure you could relate to the feeling of having your first big salary credited and then spending it without being answerable to anyone. I have a sweet tooth and I end up with cravings for chocolates and ice creams very often. that day also something very similar happened. I had a craving for chocolates, and I went to an online platform immediately and started adding things to my cart that I wanted. Slowly, I'm seeing that cart is getting bigger and bigger, and I am started adding things that was totally not necessary. So when I was doing that, I could hear my mother's voice in the background, like going in that Shruti, तुमको ये सब लेने का ज़रूरत है क्या? And immediately I was like, yes, do I need to buy this? And that's when I stopped, and I bought my chocolates, and I left the platform and everything. Our household has never lacked of anything, but I have always seen my parents' expenditure being more need oriented and they never splurged much. My parents gave me everything that was necessary and a little more. But they also taught me the importance of restraint and having a balance. And I think maintaining that balance is the most important thing when we talk about, ceiling of desires. Swami says that overeating and overindulging is a form of food wastage with the stomach as your dustbin. And so, remembering these all concepts, I have always tried to maintain that ceiling. This is a very small incident, that has happened with me, and I'm sure it has happened with most of us here. But it is so applicable to us in everyday's life. So, for me, feeling of desire is not curbing myself because I don't have it, but it is because it is the right thing to do. What money I could have saved or what money I could have easily spent on this excessive pleasure, I can actually divert it in some other form, like a Narayan Seva, and feed someone who's actually in need of that food. And lastly, when we talk about no one to answer, right? You have the money, you spend it. Whom do you have to answer to? No. You have the conscience inside you, the God inside you that you have to answer to, who will always ask you that question, that do you really need this? And I hope I'm ready to answer that question always and act in a very positive way. Jai Sai Ram.
So now, since we have got a gist on our topic, ceiling on desires, we have prepared an attitude test which would help us interact with each other. So basically, there'll be a situation and three options. So y'all will have to type out, for example, if y'all have chosen option B, y'all have to type out the letter B in the chat box. Now, due to time constraints, only some of y'all will be asked to give an explanation as to why you all have chosen the option, and we'll be asking you all to raise your hands and so that you all can give the explanation, and so let's get started. Situation 1. After a long tiring day, you reach home hungry. Your mother is out but has left a ready snack on the table. What would you do? A. There is an attractive discount on Swiggy which you feel you can avail of. You decide to order. B. You eat the snack to avoid your mother's scolding, but also order something small on Swiggy. C. You eat the snack since it has already been prepared. So yeah, you can start typing the your options, and so anyone who has chosen option A and would like to give an explanation as to why they would choose this option, please raise your hands so we can unmute you all. Okay, so I think most of y'all have gone with C. Is anyone here with option A? Y'all can raise your hands so we can unmute you. Okay, so let's ask someone who has chosen the option C. So anyone who's chosen option C, can you please raise your hand? So it will be easier to unmute y'all. So Avantika, would you like to just give your explanation as to what you would choose in this situation?
I think I would choose option B because I since I have a craving of ordering something from Swiggy, I would buy something and also eat what my mom has prepared.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Moving on to situation two. During summer, your mother has allowed you to use AC for some time. What will you do? A. You use the AC continuously. B. You understand her reasoning and use the AC only for some time. C. You use only fan. So, anyone who is chosen B, y'all can raise your hands so we can unmute y'all. Okay, so I think option C. So, Preeti, would you like to give us your explanation?
I think I would go with option C because actually my room is very well ventilated and it is very breezy. So even in summers, I don't feel the need to put on an AC. So fan
Thank you
only
so
if
much.
necessary. So.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Situation 3. By planning a dinner, your friends suggest a very fancy restaurant. What would you do? A. Give them an excuse and get out of the dinner mood. B. Suggest a less expensive place. C. You go with them because you don't want them to think you cannot afford it. Please put the answer in the chat box. And if there's anyone who would like to give a justification to their answer, please raise your hands. Is there anyone who would like to raise their hand and give their answer? Pratyaksh, what would you choose?
I think I would go with option B because I really don't, like to waste so much money on eating lavishly. So I think that is the easier way out. Just suggest a less expensive place.
That's understandable. Okay, moving on. Situation 4. In a new college, all your friends wear branded clothes and shoes. What would you do? A. You request your parents to buy Nike shoes and branded t shirts. B. You know you can make a good impression on others even without brands, so you have no demands. C. You update your wardrobe with trendy but less expensive clothes. Please type your answer in the chat box. And please raise your hands if you would like to give a justification to your answer. Preeti, what would you do?
I think I would go with option A. I will probably ask my parents to buy a pair of t-shirts and shoes, and later on, once I've made friends, then I'll just wear less expensive clothes, my own clothes that I already had. But then first impressions do matter, right? So I think I'll go with option A.
Yes, that's a reasonable answer. Yes.
Let us now move on to situation 5. Uh, all your friends have had a grand party for their birthdays this year. You desire to have a party with your friends and watch a movie too. What do you do? Option A. Accept your parents' suggestion to have a small party at home itself. Option B. Ask your parents for a big amount as you have to take your friends to Domino's and a movie. Option C. You bargain with your parents and take your friends to a restaurant and skip the movie. You can raise your hands if any one of you would like to give an explanation to your answers. Avantika, what would you do?
I think I would go with option A, since if that's a suggestion given by my parents, they would have definitely thought about it. So I'll go with option A.
That's a very nice explanation. Let's move on to the next and the last situation. Situation 6. You live at walking distance from the station. Do you, option A, walk the distance both ways? Option B, take a cab or auto one way? Option C, take a cab or auto both ways. What would you do? You can raise your hands if you want to give an explanation. Pratyaksh, what would you do in such a scenario?
I think someone just raised their hand. Yeah, you can raise your hand so we can unmute you. Yeah, Saigita's raised hand. Yeah, Saigita, you can give your explanation.
You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, Saigita, what would you do? You can just give a brief explanation. I think my mic's not working. So I think it really depends on the situation. I think I would choose option B because I really don't want to walk both the ways. I think it's a little bit easier, so I would just go with option B.
Yeah, that's a reasonable explanation. Um, okay, we have reached the end of the aptitude test.
Thanks to everyone who participated and shared their views with us. I really hope everyone here enjoyed our little presentation on sealing on desires. We're also very, very thankful to be given this opportunity to be able to convey this beautiful message with all of you. Sairam.
Sairam, I would request Sister Kamda Pandya to say a few words as we have come to the end of the session.
Om Shri Sairam. At the outset, let me congratulate each of the teams who did our presentation today. It was excellent. Each one has put in a lot of effort. But there is one point that I would like to drive home. And that is that whatever point you showed today, you spoke about today, make it a habit to make it a part of your life. For example, the one who spoke on not speaking ill of others should take it up as a habit not to speak ill of others. The one who spoke about speaking softly, follow that in your life. Let it become a way of your life, and you'll find that as one good point goes into your life, there will be a lot of improvement. Another important thing that we would like to do is that when you talk about sealing on desires, in that first slide, you forgot about the word water. You spoke about it later, but in the beginning, you forgot to put it. It's very important. Don't forget about such things. And at the end, I would like to say that all of you did a fantastic job and wonderful program. May Swami bless you all. Jai Sai Ram. Big hand for all of you.
Sairam, thank you so much for the inspiring words. And I'm sure it will go a long way. And I'm sure the children here, I mean, not the whole whole audience here, the alumni here, will take this as a take-home message that these 9 points of code of conduct will become a part of their lives, and they'll see their lives getting transformed. That is the entire aim of this exercise, and I'm sure all of you have done a splendid job, and we hope that all the alumni who took part, if you have not been a part of the organization, please contact your samithis and try to join the Sai family. Sai Ram, thank you.
श्रीनारायणतो पुरुषोत्तमगुरुतो सिद्धबुद्धतो स्कन्दविनायक सविता पावकतो ब्रह्ममजतो यहवशक्तितो येषु पिता प्रभुतो रुद्रविष्णुतो रामकृष्णतो रहीमतावतु वासुदेवगो विश्वरूपतो चिदानन्द हरितो अद्वितीयतो अकाल निर्भय आत्मलिङ्ग शिवतो आत्मलिङ्ग शिवतो आत्मलिङ्ग शिवतो असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ओम जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्व प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपद्बान्धवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे मातपिता गुरुदैवमु मरियन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरियन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्राशयन ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगलहारति अंदुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण सत्यनारायण नारायण ॐ जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ॐ सत्यनारायण नारायण 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 ॐ सत्यनारायण नारायण सत्यनारायण नारायण ॐ जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ॐ सत्यनारायण नारायण 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 ॐ सत्यनारायण नारायण सत्यनारायण नारायण ॐ जय सद्गुरुदेवा शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय। परमं पवित्रं भावाविभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीलाविभूतिं परमार्थ इष्टार्थमोक्षप्रदानं बाबाविभूतिम् इदमाश्रयामि परमं पवित्रं भावाविभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीलाविभूतिं परमार्थ इष्टार्थमोक्षप्रदानं भावाविभूतिम् इदमाश्रयामि परमं पवित्रं भावाविभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीलाविभूतिं परमार्थ इष्टार्थमोक्षप्रदानं भावाविभूतिम् इदमाश्रयामि भावाविभूतिम् इदमाश्रयामि साई बाबा विभूतिम् इदमाश्रयामि